So today's talk was going to be let go and let God. And I had all sorts of pithy things about, some of us have an aversion to the G word and all that. But that's not what we're going to talk about.
Let go of that.
I like that. There may be a little bit of it in there. But what I was thinking of, I had this experience this morning, I didn't know about this incident of the latest tragedy in Pittsburgh until I was here this morning. And I got a call from my wife telling me that the governor was on the radio talking about this. And what I noticed about it was I went from this, okay, I got a nice talk, it's going to be uplifting and all that, to this, I don't know if anybody realizes this. When we hear this kind of information, our energy level just plummets. And my mind starts talking about, oh no, again? What is the insanity that we are living in, that we are beating people up to the point where this hatred is expressing itself in violence? And the low energy that makes me feel. The tragedy that it makes me feel. And I came to this idea of have a little faith. I don't really know why this is going on. And I do have a little faith. The problem with a little faith is that it is expecting things to change at a conditional level. I have a little faith in humanity. I have faith that at the very core of everybody's being, there is some spark of decency, of common understanding, of a connection between all of us that recognizes that something in me is the same something that's in you. That's a little faith. It's a little faith that I believe that we can work this out on a social, economic level. There's a little faith in me that says, you know what, we can write laws and we can, watch out for things and we can create a police state to help protect us from the insanity of flooding our lives with weapons. I have a little faith. I have a little faith that the injustice that is happening here in this country is also happening all over the world. And we're the best of the lot, with 3 million people in jail. I have a little faith that we can solve this on a social level, on a common level, on a level of going out and voting on the next election. I have a little faith. These are the things we can do on a conditional level, on the level of experience of what is happening in the world around us. I have a little faith that we can move the deck chairs from one end of the ship to the other while the Titanic is sinking in the rising sea level. I have a little faith that we can do something about it. You see, a little faith is like hope. It is a desire for something to be different than it is, without a clear idea of how to get from here to there. You see, what I don't need is a little faith. What I need is a big faith. See, we talk about this in our practitioner class. There's a difference between a faith in God. If I have a faith in God, then I'm expecting what they call in the old Greek plays, deus ex machina. That at the point in the play where there is absolutely no way out of the terrible situation that the comedy or tragedy has led up to, the God descends down upon the actors and says, this is no longer the case. That's the little faith of having faith in God, something outside of me. A lot of our movies are about, we'll have this all right when the aliens come down and fix it for us. Right? Those are the ones that bring us a lot of hope. Is to watch things like Contact and, Arrival, and it's like, yeah, that's going to be really cool. But we still got to solve the problem right now. We don't really have a lot of time left, or we have all the time in the world. You guys will catch up with that one sometime tomorrow. We'll have all the time in the world. I have little faith right now in God to do all this stuff for me. But what I really need is a large faith, bigger than I can possibly imagine in this moment, which is the faith of God. That this is all unfolding in response to a divine idea that is coming forward in unique expression through each one of us, giving us the possibility of expressing life in a higher dimension, life in a higher cause. The difference of a faith in God and a faith of God is that I'm not expecting anybody else to do anything about it. When I have a faith of God, I have the faith that what I do today, what I choose to do today for the betterment of my fellow men, for the betterment of my consciousness, for the betterment of mankind in general, is what I'm being drawn to express that spirit through me, as me, to the best of my ability. My faith, my big faith, is that there is a consciousness, an infinite intelligence that is flowing through and as everything. It's that thing we use the shorthand term for God, right? There's an infinite intelligence that is keeping the particles that make up the atoms and the cells and the systems of my body in one place, and yours in another place, and all of us in this place, and this place in a solar system, and that place in a galaxy, and that place in a universe. It's a big faith. It's a big idea. We were at this conference a couple of weeks ago, and there was one line, I'm not going to go into it really deeply, but it touched my heart, because I'm always telling you want to know how big the universe is? Take a look at the ultra-deep field shot from the Hubble telescope, right? Pointed out there on this little blank piece of space, about that big, right? Thought there was nothing in it, and they found thousands and thousands of galaxies. Of galaxies in this little space like that big. Now imagine that in a sphere. Okay. So this guy said they've now calculated that there are more stars than there are grains of sand on all of the beaches of this planet. Think about that. More stars than there are grains of sand. I just get blown away by that. It opens my mind up to a higher level of thinking, a higher level of, you know what? We got some challenges down here. All the challenges that we're facing, all of these tragedies that keep reoccurring, are ideas that we have implanted both individually and socially in our consciousness to say this must happen this way. We were just talking about it this morning. It'll happen this way until we, and I mean all of us, not just here in this country, all of us on this little mud ball that is a speck too small to be noticed in those stars that film more that there are more of than there are sands on the beaches of this mud ball, right? All of us decide that we don't want that anymore. And now that seems like a tall order. That seems like something that requires a really big faith. But that happens one consciousness at a time when we choose not to let this be anymore. When we allow our spirit and our love and our potentially frustration, because often that's a great motivator, to get up off our duffs and actually do something that spirit is guiding us to do. You see, we can have love, peace, harmony, joy, and happiness on this planet for everyone. We can have equality and all of the resources that are required to support us all in a glorious life, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand right now. It's not somewhere else. It's not somewhen else. It is at hand right now if we allow it. And so what's required of my bigger faith? bigger idea, a greater awareness, a greater connection with this idea that we are all one. That's not a joke. It's not just words. We are made of the same star stuff. The particles of energy in our bodies are the same particles of energy, coalesced by nothing more than an infinite intelligence deciding that we need biology to carry the consciousness of its own being in us and as us, to experience this life in, as, and through us right now. So each one of us is this unique channel that God is experiencing this life right now as consciousness. And it's really important to know that we are conscious. Our animal friends are conscious. They may or may not be aware of their own consciousness. I'm not going to judge that one because I'm not playing that this life, you know. But they may be aware of it because, you know, anybody ever seen a dog dream? Wait a minute, think about what I just said. Anybody ever see a dog dream? That seems to be consciousness to me, you know. There's awareness that is happening through and as absolutely everything. That's what we call that universal spirit expressing itself as matter. What we teach in New Thought is there is actually no difference between energy and matter. Wait a minute, Einstein seemed to have said that once. Oh my goodness. Wonder how he thought that out. Oh wait, he did it through mathematics. Right? We do it through spirit. There is no difference other than the fact that we are conscious that there is a difference, and we can look at this stuff. We can have a greater faith that there is something drawing each one of us forward to make this experience of love, peace, harmony, joy, and prosperity right now. We can do that. We can allow that. You see, and I'll end with this, because a bigger idea and a bigger faith require a bigger activity in our lives. And it's often difficult because usually what our first response to tragic situations is to do the fight or flight. Even if we're miles and miles away, there's that feeling, that sinking feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to have to get my adrenaline pumped up, and I'm going to either have to run away from this, I'm going to have to run towards it. And that's a scary thing, because what's going on is there's this idea of hatred in the world. That is an idea of absolute separation, lack and limitation, and disharmony between some part of us and another part of us. And that is the part that gets active and violent and starts doing these things that we call tragic. And often when we talk about being love, it's very difficult because the first thing we want to do is intersect that force of violence with an opposing force of love. Unfortunately, love doesn't work that way, because love is not a force. Love is a power. It is a power that resides in and as and through everything that we can tap into to absorb the force of hatred. We cannot overcome it. If we try to overcome it, it will resist. It will continue to resist because we are offering resistance. Gandhi knew this. King knew this. The great leaders of the modern world in movements of the society and movements of the spirit have known that you cannot fight violence with violence. You cannot police state it away. That is fighting violence with violence. The only way to fight this is to not fight it. To be love. To stand for something and against nothing. So I invite you, as you go about your week, to look for the opportunities where you can be love, where you can bring loving words to a conversation, where you can bring your higher understanding to the conversation, where you can bring healing to the conversation, where you can bring community and communion to your conversations and your activities as you walk through the world this week. And allow that to absorb all of this fear that is being expressed. I know I'll try to. I hope you do too. Namaste.